I was super close to being zero, like in my savings and being kicked out of my apartment.
During the pandemic, CodeMiko was laid off from her job as an animator. She saw a chance to share and create her own work, took more than $20,000 in debt to build a VTuber avatar, but it worked and she started to go viral. Now she's also founder and CEO of her own company, MikoVerse, where she's raised 6-7 figures in money to help other streamers do what she did and follow their dream.
I always kind of had this dream of creating an avatar, like a huge dream of not just CodeMiko, but creating, VTube, like virtual world, being able to express yourself outside of who you are right now. It's like an extension of myself.
My name's Eric. I'm co-founder of Karat. We help creators with their finances. And join us today for 36 questions to fall in love with CodeMiko. I'm here today with CodeMiko, top VTuber and Twitch streamer. You might have seen her blow up in the past few years with her avatar, where Miko puts on an entire motion capture suit to portray her avatar's movements. She's one of my favorite streamers because not only does she have extreme technological knowledge to make this setup work, but also just she's so funny, and the interactions she has with her viewers and her guests are really what keep me coming back. Miko, does that sound about right?
You make me blush, Eric.
You know what? I realized
You're too kind to me.
One other thing I didn't mention.
Yeah.
Miko is also founder and CEO of MikoVerse, a venture-backed startup that's raised hundreds of thousands of dollars that is building the tools for others to do what you did.
That's true. Yes. You're like an ultimate hype man.
It's really easy when you've done things like that.
You're making me feel shy now.
Oh no. Well, okay. The first thing I'm going to ask is your rise in 2021.
End of 2020.
End of 2020. End of 2020.
No, end of 2020. End of December. End of 2020. Gosh, December 2020.
December 2020. I think, Miko, what really astounded me is you seem to have come out of nowhere.
I know.
Most streamers on Twitch, they already know everybody, but you were doing something that nobody else had quite done before. And I remember you telling me that you had gone into debt and had been laid off from your job during the pandemic before making this happen.
Yeah, it was during the pandemic where, everybody was in lockdown. And also I kind of had this vision of creating my own live show on Twitch that involved, I didn't even know what VTubers were called VTubers back then. I just wanted a game character or a digital human to be able to interact with chat, kind of like an arcade, and have a live interactive experience on Twitch. And when I got laid off, basically it was two choices: find another job or try this out. And I think there you have to kind of have a little bit level of insanity I feel to go anywhere. I think you gotta kind of do things that normal people probably would think it's a little crazy. And that's when I decided to go all in on it, and I didn't give myself a plan B. Just because I thought that would make me not give everything into it. And somehow I made it. Somehow I made it work. And yeah.
I love your point on you have to be a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Actually, it was funny when I was making all of CodeMiko, a lot of my friends were I told them my idea. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And a lot of them kind of looked at me strange and also, asked me if I needed a job.
Oh no.
Yeah, asked me. They were like, they had a lot of doubts and kind of what is this she's doing? So yeah, you kind of have to be a little bit out of the norm, I think, to go do something that's out of the ordinary, you know? Yeah.
It's remarkable. What inspired that decision? Did you always want to have like a show?
So I always wanted to, ever since I saw, I think, gosh, I think it was The Matrix, or was it even before that? I think it might have been when I started playing The Sims. But like I always wanted to. Always just thought the concept of like living inside a digital world was really cool since I was a kid. And when I watched The Matrix, I was like, that's so cool, you know? And then Ready Player One and all those concepts were like super, super like, they intrigued me a lot. And I thought that it 100% has to happen in the future. And I actually wrote like a little, when I was like younger, I wrote like a little story about a woman who decides to create like her own metaverse and created her own characters and stuff like that. And so I always kind of had this dream of creating an avatar that lived in digital space since I was younger. And when I created CodeMiko, I actually had a huge like a huge dream of not just CodeMiko but creating other avatars and having them live in a VTube like virtual world. And first step was CodeMiko, and then the second step naturally became MikoVerse, which is basically that concept of multiple avatars living in the same world. And so it just naturally kind of my career kind of naturally progressed into doing what I wanted to do as a child, basically.
I love that because in a way, what you want to do as a child, that's like the most genuine version of you.
Mm-hmm.
Before the rest of the world comes in with, hey, Miko, you should do this, or your parents saying, you got to go do that.
Yeah.
It's just as a kid, you're just like, what do I want to do? And you wanted literally to make something like The Matrix.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And I feel like what I'm doing now is like on the road to eventually, hopefully, get there.
I think the concept of an avatar. So when I was young, I used to play a lot of like RuneScape and like Neopets.
Yeah.
And I liked it because of, hey, I can be sitting at home and like life sucks, but here in RuneScape, like nobody can tell.
Yeah.
I got to make my own character. I got to customize it.
Yeah. I love the creative process of creating your own identity, and being able to express yourself outside of who you are right now. It's like an extension of myself. And I think with Komiko, she's an extension of this silly, crazy side of myself that I don't feel comfortable expressing in real life because it's just too whack, right? I mean, I express it a little bit when I'm drunk, but like, outside of that, it's cool how to have like an alter ego that you can kind of put all of your creative personalities into.
Yeah, it's still you, but it's different.
Yeah, it's still me, but it's like I don't feel the bounds of society telling me I need to be polite or I need to be, a certain way to present myself.
What was life like before CodeMiko? Like, how did you get to express that side of yourself, or maybe you didn't?
I mean, I think life before I felt a little meaningless, and that was the one thing that I really didn't enjoy about having like a 9 to 5 was I felt like I was giving 1,000% of myself for someone else's dream, and I've always kind of felt like I was just like a cog in the wheel, and no one really cared about me as a person, or just I just feel like a tool, right? Um, and it made me feel purposeless, and um, I felt like I had a lot more to give, and also I had, I've always wanted to make certain dreams of myself come true, so I decided to, why not, take take a chance at it. So, I would say before Komiko, I was kind of like uh, a little lost, I would say. Yeah.
Do you feel lost now?
No. Nope. Which is great.
I get that. So during the pandemic, you were an animator, you were laid off.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, so before Karat, my most recent job, I was actually fired.
That's tough.
And I think, so I had been working on Instagram for years.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I also, similarly to you, really wanted to do something of my own.
Yeah.
I quit, but I didn't know what to do. And I spent a couple months like panicking, trying everything. And eventually I was like, oh my God, like I just have to get a job. And that next job I got, I was so not interested in investing in it.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't right. After a couple months, I wasn't even coming in much. They fired me. And
Yeah.
I remember walking out and I actually felt a sense of relief.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
this is the universe telling me, hey, I got to give this a shot, because if not, I'm going to slowly die from 1,000 cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
And thinking about your point on, you have to be a little bit off, I think that's like a really good one. And it's one I think about a lot, because in a way, when you care a lot about something and you really want to go and build it and make it new, it's like, why do you care so much? And there's probably something from our past that we're missing out on that drives us and motivates us so much. And so it's like, how do we balance that deep, unfulfilled desire while using it, harnessing it to be creative, but not letting it overwhelm?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, because for a while I was a workaholic, still a workaholic, but I was a workaholic for like the wrong reasons. I used work as a distraction for a lot of things for a lot of my low self-esteem issues, feeling low self-worth, feeling like I had no value, etc. And I always thought like I was basically working hard with this belief of like, oh, if I'm successful, finally I'll have some self-worth, which isn't the healthiest mindset. But that was what previously in the past drove me to be a workaholic. Nowadays, actually very, very, very recently, I went through some really tough times. And when you go like when you really hit those tough times, sometimes it's actually a blessing, because it's basically gives you a wake up call of you really gotta fix your mental health, because mental health is so important. And I decided to really go head on to fix my mental health. I got a psychiatrist, I got a therapist, I got friends and family just surrounded. And I I tried eating right. I went to exercise. I got a personal trainer. Like everything that I could do to make my mind healthier and feel better. And it's been working. I've actually been productive with more by feeling more inspired, rather than feeling like I need to fill up an empty hole.
I feel like from the day we met, I felt really connected to you, because I could tell you're somebody with so much creative energy coming from a place of need and want, who at the same time was figuring out how to ensure that it didn't destroy you and stay healthy. And I feel like I've gone through a lot of that myself too. I, every few years, have basically a mini existential crisis where everything turns to
Yes.
But it's kind of like you said, it's exactly during those times when I'm like, ooh, like I really got to change.
Yeah.
Because I'm miserable.
Honestly, it's like suffering is like an opportunity in disguise, And the times that were the hardest was when I reached the furthest and went the furthest, like during the pandemic. That's when CodeMiko was born. And even previous to that, before that, I had like I was super close to being zero, like in my savings, and being kicked out of my apartment. This was like years ago, before CodeMiko, before my previous job, before everything. But like that led me to basically uh, do things I feared to do because I had to. You know, it's interesting when you hit like that bottom point because you're feeling so bad. It's like your fears are not as, it's not as, it doesn't seem as like as crazy or fearful anymore because you're already in that bottom state, right? You're already there. So what can anything do to you?
Yeah, it's like you cannot kill that which is already dead.
Right. So you become kind of fearless, and then you just go head on, and you grow a lot from it.
Before
So
starting CodeMiko, what were you most afraid of?
mm, I think I was just afraid of like not having a point. I think not having a purpose really made me depressed. Yeah. And people say put purpose in the work that you're doing, find purpose in it. And I think that's a great message, but I just couldn't figure it out. I had to get out of the whole 9 to 5 thing, and I had to go and, or at least have that, try at least once, because I feel like if I never tried, I would regret it. Yeah.
You know, the biggest progress points in human history
Mm-hmm.
are when at least one of these two things changes. Number one, there's technological change.
Mm-hmm.
Or number two, there's cultural change.
Yeah.
And when I look at what you did, you hit both.
Did I?
Nobody had to the same degree you had. Like people had been doing VTubing with
Mm-hmm.
avatars, but you created the infrastructure you created for your character. That was such a degree of technical expertise a normal person wouldn't have been able to do. And I think you were just like showing to the world, like, this is practical. This can be done. Like I can actually stream with this intensively modeled character.
Mm-hmm.
But the creative part is actually more important because there are other people in this world that could have created a
Yeah.
character like that. But you were funny.
I don't. I have really bad imposter syndrome. Anyway, go ahead.
No, you were. I remember the first clip I ever saw of it. I mentioned this to you, was you in the nun outfit.
Oh yeah, that one.
With video game Donkey. And
Yeah.
I've been watching Donkey for years, and I was like, who is she? Like, right? It's the initial novelty that brings you in, of course, is
Yeah.
Donkey's talking with like a computer generated nun avatar.
Yeah.
But then I remember you like threw your leg up
Yeah.
on the desk and
Yeah.
started, implying there are things that you could do together.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like, is this like pre-rendered? Was this like written by a script? And then I realized you were doing it live.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. Now there's more and more people. It's so funny. After you blew up,
Mm-hmm.
it was around the same time that everyone started to think about the metaverse.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg has spent billions of dollars on it, and people have made fun of it so many times.
Yeah.
And I think of you as much closer to the metaverse than Mark Zuckerberg is. It's like, why do we even care about the metaverse? It goes back to what you very initially said. Like, as humans, like, we're creative. We want to be able to express ourselves. But sometimes, like, I'm really scared and I don't like how I look or how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I loved RuneScape and Neopets. It's like
Yeah.
a way for me to express myself differently, to have, as you said, an alter ego.
Yeah.
And now you've built a way to make that more real than ever before. Like, that'd be so cool. I'm not a streamer, but if
Mhm.
someone came to me and they're like, you could push a button and here's your character and you can just
Mhm.
go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually one thing that, I mean, I did VTube. I mean, I am a VTuber, so I know this for myself, but I didn't realize how important, to the extent of how important self-expression is to VTubers and to avatars, that it actually supersedes even monetization, or making more money, etc. Like, they want to be able to express themselves fully the way they want to do it, and I think that's where a lot of like metaverse type applications kind of miss the mark, because they're thinking more of like soulless. It feels a bit soulless. And the reason why I feel soulless is because you've taken out a lot of that individual creativity, like for people to be creative, and kind of replaced it with very generic or very same looking characters or avatars. And before I kind of see how, metaverse, like the metaverse app, like Zuckerberg, I can kind of see how he kind of mapped it out, where he started off with very simple characters and a very simple environment and like a social space, but no one can identify themselves as those blank avatars, right?
Yeah.
There's just no story or no sense of identity behind it, and I think that's one of the tricky things that's metaverse, is you can't see yourself in it.
I love that because it's like we come into this earth
Mm-hmm.
and it's a roll of the dice. Like
Yeah.
at least upon birth, I don't know who I am
Mm-hmm.
or what I look like,
Mm-hmm.
but you're making and building a way where people actually can have that
Mm-hmm.
expression. And
Yeah.
to your point, the metaverse doesn't matter because it's the metaverse. The metaverse just happens to be the way through which people can now have more creative control over how
Yeah.
they express themselves to other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like also in the future, I don't think that there's going to be just one giant metaverse. I actually think there's going to be lots of different pockets of metaverses that cater to different, you know, people, basically. And so I don't think there's just, I don't see like an overarching metaverse app.
You have a mission now. That's
Mm-hmm.
what you said you were afraid of not having before, not having a point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now you have
A point.
something that if
Mm-hmm.
you accomplish changes everyone's lives. What
My
are
imposter syndrome. My imposter syndrome. Go
actually,
ahead.
Miko, I really get that.
Yeah.
It's much easier for me to appreciate others than it is to appreciate myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I have issues with this. I'm working on it.
It's okay. And in some
Yeah.
ways, it's precisely because I can appreciate you. Otherwise, I would also feel, if you're like Eric, I'd be like, I don't deserve that. That's not me. So I really get it. I think of it as like, like when we're kids,
Yeah.
right? Like we're not really in control that everything that happens to us.
Yeah.
We're literally kids.
Yeah.
And those early moments of interaction, there's always a choice.
Yeah.
Hey, is someone validating you or is someone making you feel?
Yeah.
And say you feel, you're a kid. The people around you, they're your entire world. And it's like a choice. Like, is the world just a mean and bad
Yeah.
place? Or is there just something wrong with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't realize as a kid, as a baby, actually, these people, they're just a small part of this world. And there's many other people
Yeah.
and many other things in it that are going to treat me much better. In those early days, you're like, well, either the world is terrible or I'm terrible, like on an
Yeah.
unconscious level. And like, both of those choices are really not great
Yeah.
places to
Yeah.
mentally
Yeah.
end up. You either hate the world or you don't feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I went through that choice. And I think
Yeah.
I've still internalized a lot of the like, it doesn't matter how many things I do or how many friends I
Yeah.
have, because at the end of the day, I'm still just me.
Yeah.
So I get it.
True. Yeah. It's a battle. It's a struggle. But
Wow. What about for when you were designing CodeMiko in the first place? You said it's like an extension of you.
mm-hmm.
What was that process like?
It was like I just kind of wanted to create like a game character that had like this arcade interactions with chat where, they can affect her environment and they can, do some crazy stuff to her and she can react in real time. I always imagined it be funny, like, because I played a lot of Sims, right? I thought it'd be very funny if, I created like a character slider thing where people can, change what the sim looks like, right? And like, how would the sim react, to people like changing their noses or, making their ears bigger. And I thought, that concept was really funny. And so, um, all these other like funny concepts of just miniature games and like if game characters were alive, like the things that they would say, um, that kind of like stuff really like drove me to create the initial blueprints of CodeMiko. In terms of like personality, um, I've always been kind of wacky, and I've just like my sense of humor. I mean, not everyone agrees with my sense of humor, which is totally fine.
I think you're funny.
But I like my sense of humor.
You
and
got a
so,
silly, goofy mood.
right.
Yeah.
So like I just express myself that way. Through CodeMiko by being a wacky self. But honestly, it comes and goes. Like my humor, or like if I find myself funny,
Yeah.
or like that comes and goes. Also, it's all dependent on like my mental health. And so when I was starting CodeMiko, my mental health was actually in a good place. And so I had lots of like, I felt like it was I was much more expressive, like much more funny per se. And then, when my mental health kind of went down, that's when when I noticed that I'm just not as confident anymore. I can't make jokes the same anymore. I'm not as funny anymore. Like all of this stuff. And then, that's when, everything finally came together, and I was like, mental health is literally the foundation for everything. If I'm not performing well, it's because I'm not feeling good inside. And so I got to take care of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, I'm cool and great because I made this really cool thing and I'm funny. It's more inherently, I just am. And when I'm feeling it, that is reflected through what I can do.
Yeah.
And if I'm not feeling it, then yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is for anyone, honestly. Like, people can't perform their best if they're feeling like, you know? And honestly, I didn't know how depressed I was until I got out of it, because I've been depressed my whole life.
Yeah.
There's been levels and stages of depression, right? But I've always been kind of depressed my entire life. It would go down a lot sometimes, and then I would go back up, but I was still not happy. And then it was only when I finally got, when I put mental health first, and I came out of it, I realized, wow, this is what.
You're like, hey, my baseline was not normal.
Yeah, no, it was not normal. And it just made me realize how important mental health is, and how it's so important for me to have a routine where I take care of myself, eat well, exercise. I took all that for granted before. I thought, oh, no, I don't need any of that. But it makes like such a big difference. Yeah.
I get that. When I started to do outpatient therapy in 2019, so I quit Instagram. And like I said, I had no idea what I was supposed to do. So I started like a month of therapy at a hospital in El Camino. When I went there initially, I was like, I don't need this. This is dumb.
Yeah.
Like the people here, they're not like me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try this out, but it's not for me. And
Yeah.
after a week, I was like, okay, this is for me. Because everyone I met there, I listened to the way that they thought about the world and themselves and be like, oh, like that's how I think.
Mm-hmm.
And in a weird way, that helped me realize, oh, but if we're all here, that's not how other people think.
Yeah.
Like, and I'd always had like little moments of this. Like, I'm very close with my co-founder. And there would be sometimes moments where I'd experience things one way and he experienced them another way. And I think over time, I slowly realized like, okay, the way I'm experiencing things is very different.
Yeah.
And it's not even like necessarily good or bad. I truly think that the fact that we feel so much, it does help prompt those sparks of creativity. Like it helps us build that connection, that empathy for others similar to us. But as we both know, it's a lot to walk around the world with like raw exposed all the time.
Yeah. For sure. And that's why you gotta. That's why it's even more important to make sure that your head is such an important piece
Yeah.
of your like people. I think people take mental health for they put in the back burner. You know, they but it is like a foundation for everything.
The whole reason, actually, why I want to do this pod with you is because I found one thing that's very helpful for my mental health is getting to know people that I think are really cool, who understand me a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same type of goal too, because people inspire me. Like you inspire me a lot. And I think it's so important to surround yourself with people that lift you up.
Push you to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to play a game.
Okay.
How familiar are you with 36 questions to fall in love?
I don't know this game.
So
yeah,
the New York Times wrote a study.
Okay.
They took randomly selected pairs of people.
Okay.
And they had them go through questions designed, one, around vulnerability. Hey, I'm going to share something real about me.
Yeah.
And two, reciprocity. Please share something back. Please don't on me.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of this, many of these pairs of people became good friends. Miko, one pair even ended up dating each other and getting married.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
powerful. So
is this the way to find Eric is single? So is this your way to find
Eric is single. But think of it this way.
Okay.
This is what I like to do
Yeah.
because it just deepens all sorts of relationships, not just romantic, but also friendships.
Very true. Very true.
Are you ready?
Yeah. I should play this with my co-founders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done this. Will and I actually, when we were looking for a third co-founder for Karat, which we eventually realized we wouldn't find one, but we literally played him. His job interview was the two of us being like, let's play this game together.
Oh, I love that.
It was actually really good
That's
vibes.
great.
He ended up having to move to the UK, so it didn't work out. But like,
yeah.
we felt like we understood each other. And like, I think that's the most important thing for the people in your life.
Yeah.
Do you understand each other?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the way this is going to work is I'm going to count from 3 to 1. After I count down from 1, we're going to make eye contact with each other. That's how it starts. And the first person to look away or blink, they're going to pull the first question. There's 3 levels.
Okay.
So we're going to start with level 1.
So we have to stare at each other until we blink.
Or one person just chooses to look away. And then the first person to look away or blink, they take a question from level 1. We'll do a couple, then we'll go to 2, and then we'll go to 3.
Okay. Sounds good. You know, I have really dry eyes. So I think
me too.
You're going to beat me at this.
All right.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
I have really dry eyes. Oh, you have drier eyes.
I do have really dry eyes. Okay, level 1.
Okay. Perceptionist eyes. Do I remind you of anyone?
Do I? So I'm asking you. Do
okay.
I remind you of anyone?
Not a specific person, but a person I would like to be. Yes, yeah. As I said, you inspire me, Eric. You're very inspiring.
See, now I'm feeling the imposter syndrome. Did you just hear what Miko said? What a casual question. She drops this.
No, seriously. You've taught me, I'm a brand new founder, brand new to managing my own startup and everything. And I remember the first time I met you, our dinner conversation, just that conversation opened my eyes to so much than I've learned in the past 6 months. And so, yeah, you were incredibly inspiring, and you remind me of someone I would like to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
All the feelings. Wow, that's very meaningful.
Okay.
And I'm gonna hold on to that for a while. I'm gonna be like, let's just record that snippet of memory so I can play it back. I mean, yeah, it's helpful because Miko, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you see yourself?
Oh man. oh, man, I see a person with a lot of potential, um, but she's on the journey to unlock those potentials.
I like that.
Yeah.
I see you as this creative force of nature.
Thanks.
I'm serious.
Yeah, thank you.
And I say that because I think sometimes it's easier for ourselves to learn about. It's easier for me to learn about me and you to learn about you by hearing what others think about us. Like, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I see you.
You always made me feel, you've always, you're the enemy to my imposter syndrome. So
Yeah, we're gonna beat the shit out of that
yeah.
imposter syndrome. Screw you, past Miko.
Yeah.
How dare you hold back her creative potential?
Well, it's me now too.
No, it's a different part of. Okay,
Okay.
fine. No, I mean, fine. You're okay too, I guess. Fine.
It's a work in progress. It's a
I
journey.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, you talked about with
Yeah.
Miko. She's like your alter ego.
Yeah.
I like that because in a way, like even just interacting with the world, I sometimes feel like I'm acting through like a different side or perspective of myself, right? And I used to think that like, okay, by default, if I'm interacting with somebody, that's not like my true self.
Yeah.
Because I'm already a little anxious, like, well, they think about me. Like, let me
Yeah.
put on a little bit of a persona. But like me by myself, just alone at 2 a.m, that's my real self. And as time's gone on, I'm like, no, like they're all me. It's just like I am a dynamic person who
Yeah.
like changes depending on the environment I'm in and the
Exactly,
people I'm
yeah.
around. So it's not like the true me is the one sitting there completely alone.
Yeah.
They're all real. And then if
Yeah.
that's true, then I'd rather be the me that I'm having a good time with, which is usually
Yeah.
around other people.
Yeah. That's yeah. I relate to that. Because there's definitely a lot of different facets of myself. And, they're all you. And what do you choose to spend the most time, right, being?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So do we pick another one?
Yeah. This time you choose a level one.
Okay.
Do you mind moving the
Let's-
microphone a little bit closer to you, by the way?
Do I choose one or two?
Take level one.
Take level one.
Another
Okay.
level one.
What compliment do you think I hear the most? Oh, interesting. What compliment do you think I hear the most?
I think the compliment you hear the most is probably tied to CodeMiko. Like
Yes.
from strangers.
Yes. True. Yes.
Because like that's the first thing. Like in this world, it's this like very paradoxical issue where we like all want to feel known, but the easiest way to know other people is like from the one most obvious or visible thing that they've done,
Yeah.
which then over time becomes so, okay, cool. I'm glad you know that about me, but that's not just to me. I suspect like everyone knows you initially. Oh, like CodeMiko.
But I mean, I'm really bad with compliments, honestly. So, that one is actually I feel most comforted by because it's not me.
It's your alter ego.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so it actually makes me feel like the least uncomfortable because I I don't know if it's just the way I was brought up or I don't know if it's our culture, but you know when people compliment you, you feel a little awkward or you feel kind of like no, I don't know, but yeah, I'm very bad at taking compliments. So the CodeMiko compliment is actually like okay because it's not me.
Wait, I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Like you said, CodeMiko is an extension of yourself. It's a way you said to express a lot of what you in normal society might feel a little more averse to doing. And in a way, like you figure out a way to begin taking compliments because CodeMiko is taking the compliments.
Yeah.
You're like, yes, CodeMiko is great. And deep down, CodeMiko is also you. But there's just enough separation. She's her own avatar. She's her own character.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I didn't think about it that way.
Great. So
That's
now
cool.
if everyone to compliment me, I'll just be like, CodeMiko is a great friend.
Well, no, now that I want me.
Oh, okay. See,
'Cause
I love you.
I want to be a good friend to you.
Oh, you are a good
Yeah.
friend. I love how you're like, okay, fine. That one's for me.
That one's for
CodeMiko,
me.
you don't get
Yeah.
that. I kind of love, by the way, I've noticed like the
Yeah.
evolution. So it started off like just like CodeMiko, like
Yeah.
that was the focus.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to bring yourself into it, like the technician.
Yeah. Well, I was always part of it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. You were always actually,
Yeah.
unlike most VTubers, you've always, from the very first clips, it's not just CodeMiko, it's also
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that. It's like you're separate, but you're
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah. Honestly, that decision came from because people just kept telling me that I was a 40-year-old man. And I think I hit a point where I was just annoyed. But not only that, I thought about it and I was like, this is actually great content to share because people can now see how it all operates. And I think that is incredibly entertaining and also inspiring. So I decided to because I was tired of being called 40-year-old man, and B, because it's cool, and I want to share what I'm passionate about, like fully, which is the tech part of it.
I love that. And
Mhm.
for people watching, I can confirm Miko is, in fact,
Yeah,
not a
girl.
40-year-old man. This is not a deep fake.
So disappointing.
I know. Shocking revelations.
Mhm.
And no, I love that. You're like, it's fun. And I get to show people what technology can do.
Yeah. I would say I actually enjoy that part personally more.
The technical piece.
Yeah, because it's my passion.
Yeah.
Performing is fun, but it's all the stuff behind it that I like more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost feels like if you've ever seen the first Iron Man movie, right?
Mhm.
Tony Stark, the first Avenger, he makes
Mhm.
the Iron Man suit in a cave with a box of
Yeah,
scraps.
that was cool.
And I feel like I'm aware that all the pieces and elements you used to create CodeMiko, like they existed, right?
Yeah,
It's like
of
an
course.
accent suit, right? Like you
Mhm.
used Maya, but like everything in this world exists. The hard thing is like putting it together, like
Mhm.
on stream. Then it was like,
Mhm.
I mean, none of us, we hadn't seen anything like it before,
Oh, thanks.
right? It
you.
was cool.
Thank you. You humble. I don't know why, but you're humbling me.
Is that compliment going to Miko or CodeMiko?
I don't know.
You're like, okay, that's for us
I
to
don't
figure
know.
out later.
Anyway, okay.
All right, level 2.
Level 2.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh. Draw from deck. The heart of the cards.
I am excited. What is this? Oh, whoa.
What has been your earliest recollection of happiness?
Oh, what has been your earliest recollection of happiness? Oh, When I was in, like, let me think. I think when I got my puppy, my first puppy. Yeah, when I was like, I think I was like 9. I got my first puppy. I was really happy about that.
Aw.
Yeah. That was a really nice moment.
What was the puppy's name?
Dolly.
I thought for a moment you're going to be like, dog.
No. Oh, that would have been a great name. But no.
Or you could have been
Dolly.
like, Code Dog.
Code Dog. That would have been funny.
It's like she was planning this from the beginning.
I wish.
You go to her childhood diaries. It's like Metaverse.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I didn't. Dolly, she was cute. What about you?
I remember being really happy when, I don't know if it's like my earliest, but when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, my mom bought for me the video game Super Smash Brothers for the N64.
Oh.
Because I had like not played video games up until the point, and then I met some kids who were playing it, and I just had so much fun. And it was fun because I like video games. It's fun because I got to play with other people, with friends.
Yeah.
And so I like really wanted to get better so that they would keep playing with me.
Aw,
But like we grew up very, very poor.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just didn't think I get it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, like, I'm not going to get it. But deep down, like, yeah, I'm going to get it. Like, I legitimately was like, yeah, like, whatever, it's
Yeah.
fine. And then I remember my mom got it, and she had wrapped it up in like paper towels, because like she
Oh.
didn't have like wrapping paper. She like got it, and it's just like a brownie paper towel. It's like all wrapped up and
Yeah.
folded into this little package.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that was like really meaningful. I think one, because like, yeah, I wasn't expecting it, because we just like didn't buy things like that.
Yeah.
And two, also like, I grew up under a relatively strict childhood. And
Yeah.
so, it wouldn't be like I would get something unless it was like a reward for like doing really well. And so
Yeah.
it's nice to be like,
Yeah.
oh, here's just like something for you. I was like, whoa.
That's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So still play Super Smash Brothers
Yeah.
Melee over 20 years later. So
That's you do. You have it here.
yeah, you've seen,
Yeah.
I've got a little GameCube downstairs,
Yeah.
little CRT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Level 2. It's your turn now.
Okay. Level 2. What's been the best compliment a stranger has ever given you?
Well, this is similar, I think,
Yeah,
to the other one you did. So let's do a different
Yeah.
one. You're like, why is this targeting me? Why are these all about compliments?
When was the last time you surprised yourself?
Oh, I guess you're asking me.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I was like, last time I
That's
surprised
you.
myself. Me?
Mhm.
I think, honestly, I think it's doing these podcasts.
Yeah?
Yeah, because like I always had a creative side and
Yeah.
wanted to like deep down make content, but I was just like, I don't get to do this. Like, why would anyone ever like listen and want to watch with me? And I think in some ways it's a deep reason why I started Karat. It's like,
Mhm.
I just want to find a way to support and work with creators, because
Yeah.
I love what you do. And then over time I was like, well, I feel like I gotta have such meaningful relationships with people who I think are really cool. And I think it's the very first point you made, like, to do something creative, often there might be something just a little bit off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted people to like understand that
Mhm.
journey and that trade-off a little bit
Yeah.
more. So then I was like, oh, like, why don't we just talk about this?
Yeah.
And in the early days, I was like, I'm going to do this, and probably nobody's going to watch, but it's
Mhm.
okay, because I get to help my friends talk about things that they care deeply about. And then over time, we've been doing this for a few months now. I'm like, oh, I actually like this too. Like, it's actually just fun.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I do like doing this. And I guess that was a little bit of a surprise for me.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like you've told me a lot about how, just you were kind of a shy person in the past, and then um a lot of times, like, just the pickleball thing that you do every Saturday, or like, other events for creators you do for us. It's like you really push yourself. That's kind of something I really admire about you. You kind of you have your fears, but then you kind of go to those fears head on, because you know that when you do that, you grow most as a person.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just why I say you're inspiring, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm always afraid. We're just trying to work through it. Well, now what about for yourself, Miko?
Honestly, the last time I surprised myself was very recent, because I became a morning person, and I always thought I was a night owl. I'm very surprised.
I kind of love that, because like when we met, you were a night owl.
I
Like,
was such a
like
night
we would
owl.
have like, for context, we'd have like 3 a.m. degen combos in
Yeah,
Discord.
yeah,
And you've like, to switch, that's like an entire lifestyle change.
yeah. My night owlness was kind of like wrapped up in my depression, honestly, for me. And I think that when I got out of my depression, I kind of realized I can do what I put my mind to. And one of the things I always wanted to be was being a morning person. So I tried the 5 a.m. thing, where you wake up at 5 a.m., you work out, and you work before anyone gets up. And
Wow.
by the time it hits noon, you've done almost all of your work. And you just feel like you're ahead and you could do more, you know? So I was shocked because I would wake up at 12 p.m., 1 p.m., you know, be late for my streams, even though I'm still kind of late for my streams, to be honest. But that's actually another thing that I'm trying to, that's actually the next thing I gotta fix, promptness, not being late. Because I've always had issues with that.
Me too.
Yeah. So I think that's the most recent thing that surprised me about myself.
Just continually building reminders that you can change.
Yeah. Surprisingly, you are very malleable. And you can change. You can, but you have to feel good inside first.
Yeah, it has to come from a place of like when everything is terrible and people are like, oh, just like change how you feel, change your. That's actually in some ways the hardest and worst time to do those things.
Yeah, you gotta make yourself feel better in order to have that courage to change. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, this very podcast was scheduled at 3 a.m. when
Oh yeah, true.
she had just woken up and I was about to go to bed. True friends.
It's funny because I actually planned to wake up at 5 a.m., but now I'm waking up at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep longer than 6 hours now. I don't know why.
Same.
I don't know why. I have to figure that out.
I feel like you're like, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. And then you're like, I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. And this is going to like slowly loop back to like, I'm going to wake up at 11 p.m. I'm going to wake up at 2 p.m. And then you're just going to like just find yourself where you were. And you'd be like, I am waking up so early ahead of time that I'm actually just going to bed late again.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh gosh, no, that can't happen. That cannot happen.
Okay, let's do another level 2. I think this time it's my turn.
Your turn.
Is there a feeling you miss?
Feeling I miss. Is there a feeling I miss? I miss being a child.
Me too.
Yeah. I miss feeling like no responsibilities, free, just endless creative possibilities. I miss the feeling of being like young and having all these dreams about what I'm gonna be when I grow up. Yeah, that feeling was really cool. Nowadays, it's like when I think about the future, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be 40. I hope I have kids, or like I hope I reach to the place that I'm trying to get to. You know, it's not just pure wonderment of, you know, what I want to be, or you know, it's the, you know, when you're a child, you just dream crazy about anything, and it's okay, right? No consequences, no responsibilities. That kind of freedom feeling is, I miss that.
That childlike spirit of wonder and discovery and promise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you like being a kid?
No. I didn't know. I did not have a good childhood, but I liked some aspects of it.
So it's like, hey, okay, I don't want to be a kid again, but some parts of that, like the wonder, that I want.
Yeah, the feeling of the feeling that you have years and years to grow, you know.
The funny thing is, we're still young, Miko.
That's true. That's true.
Like if you thought about it, if you really wanted to,
that's true.
You could take a year off and not worry about anything and still be financially okay. Like assuming you're not doing stupid things like booking yachts and like I don't know,
of course,
the Bahamas or whatever.
Yeah.
You could, and so could I, but I, you know.
That's a year of not
progress.
Yeah.
No progress. Except, well, one could argue maybe if it helps you feel mentally good.
That's true.
But that's a long time to take.
But you know what's funny is though, I recently discovered that because remember I would talk to you about this a lot, how I felt burned out, right? I think that just came from a bad mental space. Because once I started feeling good about myself again and just feel like myself again. I realize I love working. I love what I
Oh,
do.
that's great.
It's I actually feel um when I work and I feel like a huge sense of accomplishment, and just like it's just really fun. And I actually remembered when I felt and when I was having fun working, I was like, oh yeah, I used to love doing this stuff. Like this
Yeah.
was my hobby. This is what I actually did. Like, when I was bored, I would create my own projects and make whatever I wanted for fun. And like this is what I've always wanted to do, and I feel it again. I feel happy working again. So
That's so precious to rediscover.
yeah, yeah. I forgot that
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed doing this,
It's like often you start doing something for fun, but then it like becomes successful.
and then it becomes work, right? Because now you have extrinsic motivation, like money, to uh, keep you going. And then when your extrinsic, I think this is what you told me, when your extrinsic motivation gets bigger, your internal motivation gets
That's
smaller.
exactly right. I was actually
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's exactly what I think about
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I think that's what you told
Yeah,
me.
it's
Yeah.
true. Studies have shown when extrinsic motivation replaces intrinsic, it's hard to get that intrinsic motivation back.
Yeah. And I had completely lost it until I fixed myself a bit up here, made myself feel good about just living and eating well. And then when those puzzle pieces kind of came together and I started working and wasn't afraid of working, because work was actually up in anxiety. And I didn't realize until I was out of it. Um, it wasn't an anxious thing anymore, and I realized this is the same feelings I've had in the past when I really enjoyed my work. So
I love that.
that really made me happy, actually.
You're like, it feels fun and good again.
Yeah, that I felt like myself again.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
All right, let's do level 3.
Okay.
Alrighty, I will pull one first. We'll do a couple of these.
Okay.
How would you describe me to a stranger?
How would you describe me to a stranger? I actually described you recently.
Yeah, that's why I was like, you describe. Wait, you mean just right now, right?
No, I mean just recently to an actual
Oh.
stranger.
Damn. Oh, okay.
I would say that you are. Well, I said he's a startup genius, a company builder, incredibly impressive, really inspirational. I hope you meet this guy.
Aw, that's so lovely and sweet.
Well, it's true.
Aw.
It's true.
I would describe you to a stranger as someone with the desire to create, to express yourself, and to help others do the same.
Oh,
And
that's very nice.
willing to do that even when it's hard,
That's really sweet of you.
because it's true.
Oh, this is the imposter syndrome really hates you.
Now the podcast is just you and I looking away for 5 minutes. It's like no eye contact. It's like I'm gonna ask all my questions like this. Now I'm like, hey Miko, like yeah, that was a good point. And you're just like, why thank you, Eric. All the viewers are like, what's wrong with them?
We're just not normal.
We're just vibing. Okay. This time it's your turn to choose one.
Okay. When this game is over, what will you remember about me?
You have been so open and vulnerable. Like, I am so impressed. You literally
Really?
started by being like, yeah, I was really, really sad and depressed before. And that's what motivated me to make a change, because that's often what becomes inspiration for what you do next. I'm like, so willing to share it, because I know, like, if I had watched you, I mean, because I went through a similar journey, and if I had
Yeah.
watched you growing up, that would have helped me a lot. But it
Aw.
requires someone to be willing to just go and share.
Yeah.
You're just like very, very open about it.
I'm very open, just in
Yeah.
general, a little too open. I think I don't have a filter.
It's a good thing.
I think at this age, I have an old soul, Eric. I feel like I'm 60 years old sometimes. I don't know
I love how
why.
you're like, Eric, I'm an old soul. I'm 60 years old. But you're also like, but I want to retain
I
childlike wonder.
know. I think it's like I don't know why I feel so old sometimes. Maybe it's a constant reminder from my chat that I'm old. But
Well, that just got really personal, chat.
but so my ADHD is taking over. What was it? What was the question? Or what was it? What were we talking about right before this?
It was what I'm gonna remember about
Oh
you
yes,
afterwards. And I was saying
yes.
just how
How I don't have a filter, right?
yeah, you can be vulnerable. You can be real in front of people. And again, I think that's kind of the magic of CodeMiko, because without your spirit and soul, it'd just be a lifeless AI atomic unit, the same way you described what Zuckerberg is building. You know, there's got
Well,
to be
his
that
is
spark.
not that bad.
Sure. I mean, I literally remember there's an avatar that he released in a press conference where he had legs, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
It's impressive.
Yeah,
I actually think that what they're building has a lot of potential. Then,
that's fair. But I
yeah.
still think people watching you are gonna have so much more of a personal connection to the
Oh
technology.
gosh, Eric.
True. Okay, what are you
All
gonna
right.
remember about me?
You're very good at this.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how good at you are at this. It's like you're a content creator.
I know. I'm trying.
No, you are a content creator. It's you have this professional, like, look at all the setup. Like, this is I've been trying to do this, just this
Well, you're welcome to
for
use this and give it a shot if you ever
for
want to
years,
record.
and
Yeah.
this is so
Thank
professional.
you.
This is actually just like it's just you in general. It's just your attention to detail, and also the love you give to every single little, you know, detail, as I said, to the things you create and make them beautiful for you and also for other
Aw.
people. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
Super impressive. I'm always impressed by and every time I hang out with you,
Thank
I
you.
learn something new. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I decided to come to LA the other day,
Aw.
because I feel I'm like, Eric always makes me feel good about myself, and
Yeah.
also he inspires me to do better, and I always learn from you.
I feel the same with you. So for context, Miko, last time you came, not only
Mhm.
did you join me for pickleball, which was a
Mhm.
lot of fun. We were touching grass.
We were
We were
touching grass.
outside. It was
I see
good.
the sun now. which
Yeah, it
is-
was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then you invited me to dinner afterwards. I
Mhm.
was like, oh my gosh, where we met your agent too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just like such a fun interaction.
It was great.
Yeah.
It's crazy how well connected, how closely connected everyone is
Yes.
in this
Yeah, 'cause
industry.
it's a small circle. And I remember like
Yeah.
on the way back, when we were driving back to my place, we just had like a good vibe.
Mhm.
Already like the dinner and
Yeah.
the food and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Very true.
But thank you. Chat, I guess it's not really chat since you're not
It's
watching
like-
live.
Yeah, it's the viewers.
Future chat.
Future chat.
Future
Yeah.
chat, you did not see the 15, 20 minutes before we set up where I was like, is this microphone working? Is this microphone working? Let me restart my computer. Do you want water? So thank you. I do care a lot about trying to do a good job on everything.
It
So
shows. It's great.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one. You're
Okay.
going to draw the question.
Reflection. What do you think our most important similarity is? Cool. What do you think our most important similarity is?
What do I think our most important similarities are? I think we both had like probably trauma in our childhoods
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that.
that like probably affected our
Yeah.
sense of self-worth and am I
Yeah.
worth anything? Am I meaning in the world?
Yeah.
That in turn, we've spent a lot of creative energy trying to do things to make up for that
Yep. Yeah.
and empower ourselves, which is what we get to do now, except it's also really, really stressful because
Mhm.
what we're doing, to at least a certain degree, it's working. And that comes with its own set of responsibilities. And then how do we avoid the burnout and the issues that help prompt us to do in the first place? I think it's finding that balance and then, just being open and real about it. I think that's something we share in common.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And through that, we get to learn from each other on how to make it all work.
I love that.
Yeah.
Miko, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you
How
for
do you feel?
having me, Eric.